And we are back to discuss some Kenobi, and I have to say, you said it to me privately before I even watched the
It's
episode.
it's all we kind of said. Like we haven't talked about anything yet, but Carmine did ask like, "What did
How
you
was it?
think?" Yeah, and I was
Yeah.
like, definitely better than the last two.
Yeah,
Um,
110% better than the last two.
yeah, no, I think so. The big thing about the episodes, so they're all directed by Deborah Chow, so they visually kind of look the same, but they have different writers, or not necessarily like it's a crew of like four people for all of the episodes, but the last two episodes, 3 and 4, um, had less influence that from Stuart Beatty and Hossein Amini. So Stuart Beatty and Hossein Amini did the first two episodes, did the story, and then the second two, the story is done by Joby Harold and Hannah Friedman. And so and then a kind of an Hossein Amini and Stuart Beatty for like are tacked on for episode 3, and then they're not there for episode 4, which might be why episode 4 is is not great. But then again, no, I'm reading this wrong. Damn it. Episode 5 just has Joby Harold and Andrew Stanton. So no, I'm just full of shit.
You know what I think it is, homie?
Yeah.
I think there's a contract that Disney has
Uh-huh.
with any new series where they have to have a certain amount of episodes and not below it. So, when I was a kid, I used to love Power Rangers. I did,
Yeah.
and every now and then I'll go back and see what's going on with the Power Ranger stuff because it's boring to me now. I'm an adult. I don't care. And Power Rangers is on Nickelodeon now, and Nickelodeon has
Hmm.
a contract with Power Rangers that if you're gonna have a series like this on Nickelodeon, you have to have at least 20 something episodes.
Hmm.
But the thing with Power Rangers is that they've always had 40 episode seasons, not anymore. Every season has to be around a certain number of episodes, and then season 2 has to be a certain number of episodes. So that's what I'm thinking like Disney has going on here.
I mean,
Is that
definitely with long series where,
mm,
like classic network TV where you have 24 to 26 episodes a season. You know that not every episode's going to be great. There's going to be filler episodes. There's going to be good episodes, and that that they have like the epic episodes right before sweeps or something, or before like
mhm.
the early spring break and the season finales and the season premieres. They have their good ones, and then you kind of know that there's always fillers. But as we've moved into 10 episode seasons, uh, and 8 episode seasons, and this is a 6 episode season, you think you could cut out that useless stuff.
You'd think, right? But episode 4 felt completely like filler. And
Oh
that's what I'm
yeah,
thinking too. Like, filler in a 6 episode series? Because Hawkeye was also a limited series, and
yeah.
Hawkeye has 6 episodes. Like Kenobi. I think, let me see, Falcon and Soldier, Winter. How many episodes did they have? Did they have 6 or 7? I think I had 7? Maybe? No, that's 6. So
Six.
that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this is a story that they wrote that's supposed to be like maybe 2 or 3 hours. They're
Mm.
stretching out to like 5 to 6 hours.
There's so many moments. I mean, and keep in mind, part 5, just the writing was better, the dialogue was better, the pacing was better. Um, some stuff looked like shit. The sets looked like shit this episode. It looked like Attack of the Clones. Like the
Jabim looked like crap, and
yeah.
Jabim does not really look like that for the
It's
most
just
part. But
it looked like a first season Next Generation set. Like no wind. Like just you're clearly on an interior set. Like bring in a fan, do something to like cause people's hair to rustle, to give it some sort of like organic feel. But no, it looked horrible. It looked horrible. The exterior of their cave. Now at the same time, you know, the flashbacks with Hayden Christensen and
that's what I've been
Obi-Wan
waiting
were
for. I wanted this since episode 1.
just the framing of the episode with those flashbacks was done very, very well.
Hmm.
Uh, there was some great acting from Ian McGregor. Um, and it was nice to see some of the returning characters and things like that, though. Aloria Sand's death, I was like, why didn't you just have her die last episode? Like why? Why have her die in this hallway when she could have just died last episode instead of
Because I don't,
random?
because I really truly don't think last episode was in the original script. I think they just
Yeah.
added that just to make it 6 episodes because that's the requirement they need.
Like it was originally a 4 episode series, or maybe was it
Like
originally like a telemovie, and then
it was
they're
originally
like,
supposed to be a movie back when like they were
yeah.
doing like the figuring it out, and then like originally like Mando wasn't supposed to be Mando, it was supposed to be a Boba Fett film with Josh Trank who did Fan Four Stick. That
Mm,
bombed, so they went back to the drawing board. And I guess we got Mando from that, and then I guess they went back for Boba, and that sucked. But no, like I told you, I think this was supposed to be a 2 hour movie, and they stretched the script out to like 5 to 6 hours to fulfill some kind of contract that Disney Plus requires. Disney Plus requires all limited series to have, I think, at
yeah.
least 5 to 6 episodes. So what we have here.
So one of the things that I noticed that was hilarious because it showed how tacked on episodes 3 and 4 were. So uh, was it the last episode, episode 4, where third sister tells Leia that she used to have a droid,
Hmm.
right? And then they made Leia's droid evil, but then like all of a sudden the droid's just there, and like it took like 2 seconds for Leia to like make the droid not evil again. Like they're just like, oh, we introduced this plot of like her having an evil droid and third sister making her evil, and she just grabs it for a second and then removes the little little thing on the back, and it's done. Like, oh, you got rid of that plot really quick. Like that wasn't a threat at all. Like it was so tacked on. Oh,
But I called it, by the way, with
no,
regards
you
to third
did.
sister. I called it. I knew something. The funny thing
Yeah.
is, it still doesn't make the character any more likable because no one likes
Sh-
angsty teen characters. Angsty teen
Yes.
characters are annoying. No one likes them.
Well, what about Kylo Ren?
Hmm. I don't know if that's the script was better or that Kylo Ren's such a very good actor, or Kylo Ren, Adam Driver is such a very good actor. I can't tell. But even Kylo Ren was kind of annoying in like the first hour of the film. Then he mellowed out into like a
Yeah.
just
I mean, it
Anakin.
might be that. I mean, it very well might be that Adam Driver like made the character work, and that if had anybody else done the character, it wouldn't have worked. I mean, Hayden Christensen is a fantastic actor, and he still couldn't make angsty Anakin really work. In the
Hmm.
prequel trilogy. Um, and so it's difficult. It's really difficult. Um, but the she wasn't quite good. She wasn't quite good, but it was everything kind of was understandable. And then at the end, Vader's like, "Dude, I knew everything the whole time. Whatever."
It's been very weird watching like the internet react to this girl, to this woman actually, the actress, and
Yeah.
it makes any criticism of her like almost like hard to do because then people are just saying you don't like her because she's black. No, I just
It's
don't
no,
like
I
the
mean,
angsty teen
she's
character.
fine. She's perfectly fine. The character is not written great.
It's
Um,
not.
the actor is a fine actor. She's doing everything great. But somebody like I recently saw a meme of all of the different actors in Star Wars and how much shit they've taken.
Hmm.
And you start going down the list and you're like, oh wait, fuck. When Billy D. Williams was cast for Lando, he was like harassed for being like the pimp character. And then, we fast forward even to the prequels, and people didn't like little kids, and the Jake Lloyd was harassed so much that he quit acting and is like traumatized by it. The guy that was cast for Jar Jar Binks like attempted suicide because of the backlash against Jar Jar. And then like I think before Force Awakens was even released, everyone was complaining about the character for Finn being black. And I remember because they're like, oh my gosh, you like had this trailer and the main focus was the stormtrooper taking off his helmet and him being black, and it was just so all in our face, and like there was this like huge campaign of trying to get him fired, and then like Rose in the Last Jedi getting harassed again, or the everyone calling what's her face Mary Sue, and you start like going through the list, and you're like, oh my god, like it's kind of true. Like every woman and every minority, they just
to be fair about the Rey thing, the character was kind of a Mary Sue. You have to admit that much.
But Luke is a Mary Sue. Luke
sucks.
Luke's right. But
Luke
like
sucks.
Return of the Jedi, he comes out of fucking nowhere. Out of nowhere.
After Jedi training for a year, and he's like
by himself. Like he didn't even go to like had he gone back to Yoda, maybe I would have looked, but he hadn't gone back to Yoda. He was just like in his room self-training. Like, you know, like
actually, Press, if you read the comics, Shadows of the Empire, I'm fine.
Yeah. Which is like I say, when you have those like retcon extended universe things, it just supports the point. Like some other writer saw the same problem and was like, "Fuck, I'm gonna try to plug this hole because it's a hole." And you know, and then people can be like, "Oh, the acting is bad." The acting in Star Wars is atrocious 90% of the time. So it is just like, it's at this point, it's just so tiresome. Like, I don't care that third sister is a black woman. Like, I just don't care. Like, there's so many other weird things going on. Like, some things are interesting, some things are horrible. None of it has to do with the fact that third sister is black. No, none of it. Like, third sister being black is so boring to me. Like, it's fine. It doesn't matter. She could be anything. It doesn't matter to me. Just let her, just stop. Just stop it. You know, like, oh my God.
Well, the problem with her character is that me and I'm sure other people as well saw it coming. The fact that she was like hunting Vader and all that stuff. We saw it coming. Yeah. And I wish that the character would have been more subtle about it. I wish that this was a twist that no one saw coming. I wish that there was maybe like some bullshit story that we got where she hated Kenobi for other reasons, not because he was Anakin's mentor. This is a twist that I really wish was not a thing I saw coming. That's my problem.
To be fair though, you saw her as being more good than she was. Like, she doesn't like Kenobi. She's like, where were you? And I had to start thinking back, and I was like, he was on some planet, wasn't he?
He's on Utapau, ending the Clone Wars, fighting Grievous.
Yeah, okay. You know. So, I mean, he was somewhere doing something.
He was also attacked by the clones on Utapau during Order 66.
Yeah, well, you know, but
her angsty teen bullshit is my issue, and the fact that they this was the wrong script for this character. They really should have made her more subtle, less like I want to kill everybody. They really should have played her more of a suave character who's smarter than the Grand Inquisitor and smarter than these other characters, and you know, she's moving in between the lines, and I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. She's playing the character Rage like. You know, which I think is fine, but I think it works. But you're saying that it should be more like seething under the surface anger, versus her just like screaming at people.
Yeah, her clearly unwilling to work with her teammates, which Inquisitors do work together. Like, this is canon. They do work together instead of just, you know, being angsty teens towards each other. That's just my main problem with the character. But I will say, though, she did have one of the best scenes in the entire show so far when she finally tries to kill Vader and they have that fight scene. Oh, yeah, so good.
That was pretty fun. I mean, again, like, Obi-Wan and Vader are kind of weird in that Vader's randomly overpowered and Obi-Wan is randomly underpowered at various times, and we kind of accept that these are equally matched Jedi, right?
So I would argue that Obi-Wan was a pretty good Jedi. His saber skills are mostly defensive, so yeah. But him being out of practice with the Force, you know, makes sense. Vader, the reason Vader is so powerful, this is the Chosen One. The Chosen One has always had like such a strong connection with the Force.
Sure, but him just fucking reaching out and grabbing that ship.
And the dark side amplifies that power, so that's why he can do that.
I mean, granted, we saw Grogu do that, right? but I've never seen Vader just fucking grab a ship. Or did Kylo Ren do something like that in Rise of Skywalker? Did he fucking grab a ship or something
Yeah,
weird?
he held the Falcon for a minute
Yeah, okay.
while they were trying to escape. Yes,
And that's like a big deal, you know.
not every Jedi can, like, not every Force wielder can do that. But like I said, Vader's rage and the dark side attributes, I guess they amplify his Force abilities because dark side.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, that fight scene was great. The fact that he's like, because in Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back, and even for a bit in Rogue One, it always felt like the suit hinders his ability to really duel, and he
Yeah.
was toying with Luke, and like he wasn't really being serious. But here, when he's being serious, yeah, my man can actually, he uses the Force as like a tool very often, and because his Force abilities are stronger than hers, he's overpowering her, takes her saber, breaks it in half, gives it to her, and like duels her, and like not only I love that. I love how he's just tearing her apart
Yeah.
before he tears her apart.
I mean, my favorite lightsaber duel is Luke and Vader's in Empire Strikes Back, because it's just like Luke is so pathetic. He's getting like boxes thrown at him and he's like whiffing them, and I was like, I just like laugh at it. But it was, yeah, no, I liked the scene. I liked the scene a lot. It was, it was fun. Just like seeing her getting her butt kicked by Vader.
That level of skill, that it's such a high level of skill. It's so good. Very good. This is the Vader I wanted to see. The badass rage monster bringing down that ship, tearing it apart. I kind of wished after a while, as he's like bringing the ship down, and there was no camera cutaway to the people inside the ship going, "Oh, what's happening?" I knew something was up. I knew it was gonna be a fake out. Like it had to
Right,
be.
and then it's set up through the. I mean, it's nice that it's set up through the flashback that we know that like Vader's mistake is that he's too aggressive, and so he was tricked into going for the wrong ship. Is that the idea? That there was two ships. At first I was a little confused because I was like, wait, did a second ship come out of the first ship? I was like, no, it must have just been like further down at a different port, right?
That's a weird placement because if you go back, it's almost like
It almost like comes out of the other ship, right? It like kind of looks that way.
yeah.
But I think it must have just been like at a different port on a different side of the
But he didn't see it. He was only focused on the ship, going, "Oh, you didn't see the other one? Okay."
yeah.
It's a weird shot, but
it was a weird shot. It was there were some directing choices that I thought were a little odd in this. I thought Vader was great for the most part, but I thought his entrance was a little wimpy. When usually you have the first appearance of Vader in a movie or in episodes is usually like, boom, it's Vader, and they kind of chose a sideways shot of him getting off his ship, and it wasn't as epic as I thought. But so yeah, there's some weird camera angles, but I don't know. More worked in the episode than didn't work, as opposed to episodes 3 and 4.
there is one thing that I don't like. That I guess this is like going to be the new standard now. Before, in the old canon, getting hit with a lightsaber, 9 times out of 10 you're dead. You're like, even getting stabbed, like, okay, sliced, okay, you get your arm sliced off, your hand sliced off, you can still survive. Getting stabbed in the abdomen with a laser sword, 99.9% chance of death. This woman survives it twice. So in her flashback,
and so did the Grand Inquisitor,
because of that, the two stomachs thing.
The two stomachs thing, which they never mentioned. Okay, it's still not canon for me. Okay, Wikipedia can fuck itself. Okay, but I was thinking about that. Like, if you have a lightsaber and you choose to stab someone and then pull it out, you're actually being very careful. You're like, because like normally, if your lightsaber just like you'd think that like a lightsaber would go through a human being like a hot knife through butter, right?
I would assume.
So if you did stab someone, your arm would just naturally like go to the side, and so you'd end up like slicing the person open. But in both of these situations, with both Grand Inquisitor and with Third Sister, the person stabs in and then very carefully pulls the lightsaber out on the same trajectory to cause minimal damage, right?
You know what? Now that you mention it, yeah, that doesn't really make sense.
Because the person has, I mean, granted it's cauterized, but like that's where all your organs are, right?
Right.
Like, but like to carefully like pull it out the same cylinder, the same cylindrical way, rather than just lazily going whoop like out the side. It's just kind of weird to me.
Makes no sense. And she survived this as a kid too. Supposedly Anakin stabbed her as a kid. That's
maybe he
what I got
stabbed
from
her.
the
Maybe he
vision.
stabbed her in the exact same scar, like the
I
exact.
have no idea.
Like, right in there. She didn't feel a thing. It was just the same. Does she have little inner robot organs like Ming-Na Wen?
I have no idea. I have no fucking idea. But this happens again, and once again, dumb decision. They stab her, and they're like, okay, well, fuck you, bye, and then they just walk off.
Yeah, that was really weird.
What?
Like, why would you just
Leave her there?
Did they want her to suffer?
I guess, and maybe the thought of like, you could argue that it stings a bit extra that he was careful to leave her there suffering like Obi-Wan left Anakin, but at the same time, you also like psychologically must fuck with her because she can never beat him. He has torn her apart by skill. Like, I could beat you not only with the Force, but lightsaber dueling. Like, and you can't come at me because I'm smarter than you. I knew you were going to do this. And once again, Force wielders are like somewhat connected to each other through the Force. They can like mentally feel each other. Vader can feel her rage. She doesn't hide it. That's the problem with the character, is that the character isn't hiding her rage. Like, she's clearly an angry, angsty teenager who wants revenge. I don't have the Force, but even I could fucking see this.
Right, but in the end, they reveal that he knew the whole time, right? This is always the joke about in the Next Generation. There's the character of Deanna Troi, and Deanna Troi is an empath, and she can read people's emotions and determine things like whether they're lying or not and what they're feeling. But it's so funny because when she uses her powers, it's so obvious. Like some character, some slimy character will will say something and she'll be like, I'm lying, I'm certain of it. It's like, yeah, no shit, Deanna. Like he feels much anger. It's like, yeah, he was clearly angry. So yeah, you didn't need the Force to determine that she was playing them all, but they knew anyway. But yeah, they knew from the beginning.
And you see this in Return of the Jedi, which, by the way, Return of the Jedi, that's one of my favorite lightsaber duels, Vader and Luke there. And I would also say Kylo versus Rey in Force Awakens is also pretty nifty. No, Vader reads Luke's emotion. And, like, so you have a twin sister.
Right,
like
he reads her mind. He reads the mind. And actually earlier in the series, like Third Sister is reading people's minds, yeah.
I'm assuming if you're a strong Force wielder, you can block this. This is true.
Yeah.
But both Luke and Reva are not, I guess, significantly trained to block that. So, because I'm assuming Vader is very trained in blocking this because he was able to block his intentions from Palpatine quite a bit before he throws Palpatine down the reactor.
Yeah, Palpatine's distracted, at that moment.
Yeah. But that was, I don't like how they executed that, but it was a good choreographed fight. Great, phenomenal. Ilaria Sand goes out with a thermal detonator.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she was Force sensitive the whole time?
I don't think so. She was just a very sympathetic Imperial.
But she closes the door.
She shoots it.
Oh, I thought okay. I thought maybe she
thought
she maybe used the Force to close it or something. I didn't see it. Okay.
What a twist! Oh no!
Oh, I know. But I think it's funny. Like
thing.
shooting control panels always in Star Wars always does exactly what you want it to do. It either prevents the door from closing, or it closes the door, or it opens the door. Whatever is shooting it will always do exactly what you want it to do.
Pretty much. But
though I do admit, in the original Star Wars, he shoots the he shoots the control panel to keep the door closed, and then she's like, extend the bridge, and he's like, yeah, I just shot the control panel. So I do think that was the one time where it doesn't happen in the original Star Wars, but
But I do agree with you. Like, my problem with this, with the whole situation is it's all one big set. Which, okay, cool, but it looked very ugly.
bring in a fan. Bring in a fan.
Bring in a
Like,
fan, just have the fan blowing in the wind.
yeah, bring in some dust. I understand, like, you've got a lot of expensive equipment around, and they probably didn't want some dust. But man, it was like having some dust on their costumes, in their hair, having a little wind would have done so much. It just looked so clean and sterile. So
Yeah,
clean and sterile. Like, much more clean and sterile than Book of Boba Fett and Mando. And even those two look a little sterile, look, especially with the mods, looking rather sterile. So I don't like, it was, I mean, the prequels do look that bad too. I think Attack of the Clones is just ridiculously clean looking considering their environment. But I don't know. They should have done something.
green screen, bro, green screen.
Jeez.
But no, the sets look very ugly.
Yeah,
I didn't
horrible
like
sets.
I didn't like Reva's storyline, because now her storyline is going to, it kind of reminds me of Darth Maul's original Legends storyline, which was
Oh.
basically he shows up at the Lars homestead with robot legs and he duels Obi-Wan and he ends up dying when Lars blows his fucking head off. Did you know about this?
Oh, I thought that they duel and like Obi-Wan kills Darth Maul.
That's in the canon now, but in the
Oh,
Legends, the original Legends continuity, after Phantom Menace came out,
I
someone wrote a
see.
comic about Darth Maul coming back and with robot legs. And it was like a quick little comment. You guys can look this up. Is the original stuff, and he dies when Owen shoots his head off as he's dueling with Obi Wan.
By the way, regarding that, isn't there a line at the end of Phantom Menace that they examine the body and it was like a Sith body? Isn't there a line at the end of Phantom Menace where they say that? And so all like the Darth Maul coming back stories like don't even fit with the Phantom Menace.
I will have to check that. I will have to look into this. I'm sure
Okay.
some asshole in the comment section will correct us. They always do. Oh,
Yeah,
by the
I
way, let
know.
me make a correction here. It wasn't Luminara that was in Rebels, her body. It was Ayla Sakura. Sorry. Sorry. Someone
You're
corrected
you're
me.
speaking gibberish words to me. Okay, gibberish words. So
I'm there.
by the way, you know how everyone kind of says, well, there's the big joke like Obi-Wan Kenobi isn't doing a very good job like hiding by calling himself Ben Kenobi. Like you'd think he should at least like change his surname. And then everybody's like, well, maybe Kenobi is like Smith and like Skywalker is like
Yeah.
Jones, right?
Hmm.
But all through the episode, everyone keeps calling him Kenobi. Like if Kenobi is so common, wouldn't they call him by his less common name?
The way I mental gymnastics in my head is that
Yeah.
the Empire is also a lot of bureaucratic bullshit and jargon. And with trillions of life form in the galaxy, I'm sure at some point someone has reported Kenobi. It's just under a mountain of paperwork that no one wants to get to. Hey, there's a guy on Tatooine I just saw. He looks like this guy. Oh, well, report it.
You're right.
We'll
All
get
right.
to it.
That has to get that goes up to my supervisor, and then it gets reviewed by an adjudicator, and then it gets passed on. And it just never makes it up. Never makes
It
up the
never makes it up.
chain. Yeah, the
That's
bureaucracy.
my mental gymnastics on how I make that yeah, hey, there's a kid out in the desert. His name's Skywalker. This was there a Jedi General Skywalker? Look, just file the paperwork. We'll get to it when we get to it. So it's still there. It's still there. I would love a comic, like a 4-page comic of a guy from the New Republic once they defeat the Empire coming in and just like looking through these reports of like all this shit that they never got
Oh,
to.
but that's the thing is, could you imagine like an audit later, and everybody's like, oh my god, there were 179 reports of an Obi-Wan Kenobi, of a Ben Kenobi on Tatooine that were never followed up on. And then they have like hearings and probes and like, who's getting fired over this? And you're like, oh, well, at the end of the day, and then everybody like blames Grand Moff Tarkin. They're like, at the end of the day, it was all Grand Moff Tarkin's fault. You're like, oh, really? You're going to blame the dead guy? Yes. Okay.
You're an auditor for the government. Like, is
Yeah.
this like a nightmare? Like, this whole situation is like a nightmare of like people like supposedly reporting and then no one ever gets to it, and then regime change, and this is a
Yeah, yeah.
nightmare for you.
No, that happens all the time. I mean, we saw.
Oh
I
God.
mean, we get politics, but I mean, we saw that like they were giving tours to January 6th rioters like the day before, and like and people are asking the Capitol Police like, why didn't you do something? And they're like, well, it didn't. Nothing like came up the chain that was like suspicious activity, and you're like, and like this kind of stuff happens all the time, like where it's just there's so much stuff out there that it's very difficult to. There's so many people and there's so much stuff that it's hard to police it all.
You know what's
Um,
even extra funny is that they would use droids to get through this. The droids can work like 24/7,
oh yeah, it's
but
true.
they had the Clone Wars with the and droids are
Yeah. Like there's one weird thing like so uh take something like suspicious activities like with regards to trains. Um so terrorist attacks on trains are really difficult to track down or like predict because there are so many train enthusiasts that just go around taking pictures of trains. Like, and everybody, like, there's so many train enthusiasts. And so some random dude, like, doing reconnaissance and, like, taking a picture of a train is not suspicious because everybody, like, there's just so many dudes that just love to take pictures of trains. And so you could never really catch, like, somebody that was doing reconnaissance on that. And so maybe it's the same kind of thing. They're like, oh, they're getting so many reports of Kenobis like all over the galaxy. You're just
Could be
like,
Smith. It's gonna be a common last
right,
name.
like trillions of like, if you really had like trillions of life forms and you've got like, yeah, trillions of life forms, you're getting hundreds of thousands of Kenobi reports like every single day. How can you track them down? Like if it were something like that, yeah, that's quite possible. Hmm.
Well, okay, so there's that, and then I'm so glad they finally use Hayden Christensen. He does look a tad older. I kind of wish they did a
They
little bit
they
of a
tried to
deep
they
fake on
tried to
him.
they tried to de-age him, but what could you do? He looks a tad older. It's been
A
fucking
tad.
20 years. Like, dude,
There is I will say there is, and some people who have watched the Clone Wars cartoon, they can back me up on this. There's a weird disconnect between Anakin
Hmm.
in the movies and Anakin in the Clone Wars show. Anakin in the Clone Wars show, I feel like they cleaned up his angstiness a lot more. Yes,
Hmm.
he's impatient, and yes, he can be a bit brash sometimes. But for the most part, he's a level-headed guy. Whereas Anakin in Episode 2, and even Anakin a little bit in Episode 3, you can tell he still has a lot of learning to do. So there's that bit of a disconnect. It almost seems like two different characters.
I mean, I have to give, even though things were de-aged and weird, I have to give Hayden Christensen props for like nearly flawlessly recreating his character from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? Like you know, Harrison Ford, when he played Han Solo in The Force Awakens, he was in no way the same Han Solo that existed in Empire Strikes Back, for example. He was a tired old man who was, you know, being Harrison Ford. And you can forgive it because, yeah, it's been a long fucking time. He's not the same person, right? But he's not, but he's grown and it's understandable, but he's not the same. He's not the same Han Solo. Or if you saw the last Indiana Jones film, you could be like, well, that Indiana Jones doesn't act like the Indiana Jones from Raiders. Though it's understandable that he doesn't because, many, many years have passed. But it's amazing that Hayden Christensen was able to recreate, pretty flawlessly the character of Anakin 20 years after playing him. Props to him.
And also props to him for not getting any plastic surgery because Ian McGregor looks like he does. He looks exactly like he does 20 years ago. And Hayden Christensen, my man, he'll age gracefully. My man, there you go.
Yeah, no, but just and I guess it's another compliment to Well, I do think that Obi-Wan is a very different character in this than he was in the prequels, but he should be a different character. So, but it was pretty. But this is like doing a flashback and having to recreate the exact same character, like like that same arrogant / insecure smile. You know, that same like kind of situation. Like it was very well done. Very well done.
But no, overall, I liked the episode. I thought it was great. Well, actually, let me take that back a little. I thought it was good. There are some elements of
Yeah.
it I didn't like. So, but yeah. So the I forgot the actor's name, the Indian gentleman who he was in that Marvel film,
Kumanji. Let me.
Kumanji Nahaj. I think that's it.
We're gonna be complete. Kumail Nanjiani.
Kumail Nanjiani. He was in
we're
what's that
we're
Marvel film he
horrible.
was in?
It's what he was in Silicon Valley.
Eternals.
Is Eternals and Silicon Valley is what he's famous for. He's so good in Silicon Valley, which is what kind of launched his career.
Well, he comes back.
He has a great movie called The Big Sleep, which is
About him.
about him and his how he met his wife and things like that. It's based on like his relationship with his wife.
But no, well, he fucks up, and he drops the thing, and no one notices it, but Reva notices it. So that's what I'm assuming her whole thing is that she's going to be Darth Maul in Legends, where she's going to go and threaten Luke, and Obi-Wan, I guess, is going to have to ultimately kill her, or maybe Owen will kill her. But yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the finale, which is a shame because I don't think we're going to get Vader again. But
Yeah,
the series has done Vader justice, in my opinion.
Yeah, Vader's been great. I think when you bring in professionals, things go really well. By the way, on the name pronunciation thing, I was just thinking about like how everybody trashed George R. R. Martin for mispronouncing everything at an awards show, and everyone, and it's like pronunciation is difficult, but people are like, oh, maybe you should have done your research, and it's like Carmine and I have read Kumail's Nanjiani's name like a dozen times, and we keep fucking it up. Pronunciation is really difficult, which is why people say my last name is Jacobs. You know, that's just what happens. You know, over time.
Wait, isn't your last name Jacobs? That's like your last.
But that's
name.
not how the original pronunciation was.
Oh, it's Jacobs, right?
Yeah. So like, but like people are gonna look at it and just be like, whatever. I don't. You know.
The only reason I know it's Jacobs is because of that one time years ago you were shit talking Trump and you called him Drumpf, and there's a Trump supporter in your comment section who got very upset and called you Jacobs. That was the funniest fucking thing ever.
Well, it was something I mentioned in. I kind of stole it from the Office, but in one of my videos on looking at on the I was talking about how Stark and why the Night's King's name would have been, no, it's Night's King. The Night's King's name would have been struck from records. And because a surname lets you know somebody's patrilineal lineage. And so I was like, and like where they're from. So I was like, for instance, with someone with the last name Jacobs, from that, you might find out that my father, his last name was Jacobs, and his father's last name was Jacobs, and his father's last name was Jacobs, and his father's last name was Jacobs, and that was the joke I put, which is actually from The Office, where Dwight Schrute is like, my name is Dwight Schrute. My father's name, Dwight Schrute. His father's name, Dwight Schrute. His father's name, Dwight Schrute. Which I thought it's it's pretty funny bit. But yeah, names evolve, and once you go country to country and everything shifts around, and with how things are spelled and romanization and everything changes. It's really hard.
Of course. And on that note, I thought the episode was good, not great. It was okay, very good. They did Vader justice again. The show has done Vader justice. If only a couple of like instances were cut out. I'm sure someone at the very end of this will do like a nice 2 hour edit of this 4 hour show.
I still think, I mean, so because the Vader stuff and the Vader fights kind of are so salient in our memory, we kind of forget that the rest of the episode. And the rest of the episode, unfortunately, was people running around tunnels where you're not really sure where they are or what they're doing or anything like that. So it had that whole filmed on a green screen problem that we kind of highlighted in episode 2, where they're on the planet and they're kind of running around coal stacks and the underground railroad that leads to somewhere, and we couldn't really get our bearings. This episode had that same problem, but I think and a lot of characters sitting around kind of doing nothing. But I think we forgive it all because of the Vader stuff and the flashback sequences that were very well done.
Well, on that note, you like the episode too?
I thought it was pretty good. Definitely better than the last two. I don't know if it's better than, say, episode 1 or 2, maybe on par.
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah.
Preston, do you mind if we wrap it up here?
Sounds good.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. As always, we'll see you next time for the finale of Kenobi. And let us know what you thought in the comments below. And don't do the Wikipedia to the guy in the comment section with the Grand Inquisitor stomach thing. Fuck you. Don't do the Wikipedia shit. Come at me with real shit. Come at me with real shit.
Something that was on
guy.
Screen, not in not Wikipedia or in an extended universe comic book, like random novel that, it has to be on fucking screen.
It has to be on screen. So screw that guy. But guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.